taking measurements is crucial for the whole work. Correctly taken measurements guarantee that the work will be done with the least time lost. Measurements taken offhandedly and incorrectly will handicap the work process at every step, from adjusting the standard pattern to get the pattern of the required size, to multiple fit testing and tedious reworking. If the measurements are correctly taken, not a single fit test is needed. You just measure the client once and deliver her order a couple of days later. So, to design a pattern from scratch or adjust a standard pattern to a required size, you will need to take the following measurements: bust circumference, under bust circumference, bust front, under bust front, clip toward top, toward armscye, toward neckline, waist circumference, stomach circumference at the level of the desired corset length from the waistline, side height from the waistline to the bust line, model side height, waist to shoulder blade height, back height. If you want to brush up how to take measurements correctly, please revisit our classes dedicated to this topic. Here, I will only go over the rules of measuring bust and under bust circumferences. Measuring bust circumference. For successful measurement, a woman with a big bust should be wearing an unpadded light bra. If this is the case, identifying the correct cup size will not be a problem. It is not that easy in cases of a woman with smaller bust size. To have their measurements taken, these women usually come wearing a padded or push-up bra. They like the way their bust looks in such a bra, and they want a bodice of the same size. They tend to forget or not to know that push-up pads in a bodice are structurally different and less comfortable than the ones in a bra. It means that the bodice or corset you make must be comfortable for wearing, and a smaller size bust must look beautiful in it. This is why I suggest measuring the bust and under bust circumferences twice, with the bra and without it. I also recommend using the arithmetic mean value of these two measurements for designing a sewing pattern and entering into the table application. For example, the bust circumference with bra equals 90 centimeters and without it, 88 centimeters. So we will use the arithmetic mean value, which is 89 centimeters. The same holds true for the underbust circumference measurement. For instance, it equals 47 centimeters with the bra and 46 centimeters without it. We will use the mean value of 46.5 centimeters. It is quite likely that when all is said and done, we will need push-up pads in the garment. In this case, though, they won't be too large, and so they will be more comfortable. As I am measuring a hard dress form right now, it is obvious that I can only measure the bust circumference and the under bust circumference once. With the model parameters and the desired neckline configuration in mind, you should very carefully and precisely take the measurements of clip toward top, armscye, neckline. I will repeat once and again that very often you will have to rely on your hands-on knowledge in designing a sewing pattern for a specific model of the garment. This is why during our first classes on pattern design, I laid stress on the idea that you can design a pattern from scratch when, and only when, you have enough hands-on sewing experience. MTM Tailoring makes us all-around seamsters and seamstresses. By saying all-around, I mean that we have to master several sewing occupations at once. and pattern design is one of them. We can't dedicate too much time to becoming as proficient in it as a pattern designer who has devoted their entire life to this art. We base our success on practice and an off-the-shelf pattern of our future garment. As for this garment model, an experienced pattern designer will notice an important detail in it in no time, the very detail that might escape your attention. So our future corset must have outlined cups with underwires under the bust. It means that the lining must be snug against the body in the front area of the underbust line. Otherwise, stitching on the underwires will make no sense. And this means that already when you are taking measurements, you should make allowances for the cleavage. Whether the cleavage shows up and how deep it is depends on the position of the corner of the neckline. The higher the corner is located, the more important it is to allow for the cleavage. The cleavage gets the less essential the lower the neckline corner is from the bust line. And yet, you'd better take an additional measurement to allow for the cleavage. For small or mid-sized cups, the lining will be best snug against the body if an additional horizontal dart is made to the front lining in its center. For large cups, you will probably have to add darts to the face of the garment too. I describe this dart in detail in the class Making a Sewing Pattern of a Garment with Shoulders, Ways of Getting Rid of the Barrel Chest Effect. Although this class is more advanced, you can jump there if you wish. Here, we will take the measurements and get ready to allow for the cleavage. If the neckline corner is supposed to be above the bust line, you will have to measure the front above the bust, and you already know how to do it. This measurement helps control the depth of the over-bust curve. Attach an elastic band along the top points of the future neckline, i.e., on the level of the clip toward top measurement, and measure the front above the bust. Take all other measurements as usual. Take the same measurements from the mock-up of a new-to-you pattern of a corset with 4 curves and a sweetheart neckline. Take down all the results under the title Measurements of the Initial Standard Sewing Pattern.